My theory was correct. My theory was that if I ask you all to name an animal, most students would name a vertebrate animal. I heard cat, I heard dog, I heard cow, I heard coyote, and then I heard one student name an invertebrate animal. Was anyone listening? Did you hear the invertebrate? What was the invertebrate? The crab. Someone said crab. And so crab is that invertebrate. When we think about animals, our mind often goes to vertebrate animals, and we don't think as much about those invertebrate animals. Can you tell us why sometimes we don't think about invertebrates so much? Give us another invertebrate.
Lobster.
A lobster, good. Now, why does our mind go to vertebrate animals more than we think about invertebrates? Yes.
Because you see vertebrate animals more than invertebrate animals.
Okay? We see vertebrate animals sometimes more than we see invertebrate animals. Where might we need to go to see some invertebrate animals?
The beach.
We might see them at the beach. What kinds of invertebrates would we see at the beach?
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish, another one from the beach.
Like
Crabs,
crabs.
good.
Snails.
Snails, good.
A shrimp.
We might see shrimp, very good. So sometimes we have to go to the beach. Is it possible to see any? So let's move on. Quick question for you all to end your warm up. How are vertebrates and invertebrates different besides the obvious? What are we talking about, the obvious? What's the obvious?
Backbone.
The backbone, good. So vertebrates have a backbone. Invertebrates do not have a backbone. So that's the obvious. What are some not so obvious characteristics that separate the vertebrates and the invertebrates? I will talk to you.
Like it can be like shells.
Okay, sometimes invertebrates have a shell. Do you know of any vertebrate animals with a shell? I can't think of any. Good. What are you gonna tell us?
Most like invertebrates, like she said, have like exoskeletons.
Exoskeleton.
Go ahead.
And vertebrates usually have like some kind of coating to keep them warm because they're with invertebrates their shell
Okay.
kind of keeps them warm.
Okay. So we've used the term exoskeleton and we've used the term shell. So many times our invertebrate animals will have a shell or they'll have some type of exoskeleton, but not an internal skeleton like we have. Look up. We took 25 seconds to take out the laptops. I need 25 seconds to give you the instructions. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you've got a sheet of paper, and we are each going to draw an invertebrate on that paper. We're not all drawing the same invertebrate. So on your paper, you've got a word. Pick up your paper, pick up your sheet of paper, and you should have one of the types of invertebrates that you're familiar with. It should be written in pencil on your paper. Does everyone's paper have the name of an invertebrate on their paper?
Oh, hold on.
Or you'll see it. Got one? I can't hear you. Look at what your paper says.
Excuse me, did you
I got a bullet.
Okay.
snail.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your instructions. I need to see all eyes on me. I don't see all eyes on me. All eyes, all eyes. There's two each. All eyes. All eyes. All right. So you've got a sheet of paper and it gives you a type of organism. I'm going to have you to type that name into your Google search engine. Then you're going to click images and you're going to sketch the first one you see. The first one you see. And it only needs to take up half the page. Can everybody kind of eyeball where half the page is? Can you draw yourself a very light pencil mark at half the page? Okay? So we don't want the tiniest little we don't want the tiniest little segmented worm. We want it to be fairly large on the top half of the paper. Okay? So you're to draw the first one you see in Google.
Slides for 20 months. The diversity of this group is impressive.
Okay, ladies, gentlemen,
Having no backbone
we're listening to the video.
but just because
We're not
their
listening to
silence
each
doesn't
other.
mean they lack support.
It's a snail almost.
Many
At your table drew something different. So you're going to take turns and you're going to show your group what you drew. You're going to go over the heading that's on top. Don't try to trace over my handwriting. Just draw it, write it nicely. So if it says mollusks at the top, you're going to write mollusk very, very neatly at the top. Then your group is going to help you develop some bullet points to put beneath your organism. So these are your bullet points. You're going to say it's covered or protected by. It feeds by. They reproduce by. It moves by. And 3 interesting facts. So we've got a segmented worm, a very nice looking segmented worm, I might add. And so her table is going to help her to label the top and then do the bullet points down the side. So you've got your textbook. I believe this is on page 350. And I think you also have some notes about this information. So I want you to try to fill in your bullet points helped by your group.
They are. Read that. It is both male and female. Oh. Yeah, American. There should be some gay stuff. So now I need to look up. No, wait.
For your group work, you all were supposed to talk about each type of organism. One of the things that I noticed was that if you drew a crab, you and your partners were talking about crabs. When what I really wanted you to do was talk about the category that crabs fit into. So what category of invertebrate organisms are crabs a part of? Who knows? Just say it. Which category? We've got arthropods, we've got sponges, we've got echinoderms. Help me, what are the others? They're arthropods, good. So I wanted you to write information about arthropods, information about mollusks, information about echinoderms, not so much your specific example, okay? So someone who had echinoderms, eyes up here, someone who had echinoderms, could you hold up your picture and the information? You got echinoderms? Someone with echinoderms who finished it. Would you stand and tell us about echinoderms? All right, so we're going to talk about echinoderms for just a minute. It's okay, it's okay. Echinoderms. Please give your attention. Can I do it? Okay, so we've got an example of an echinoderm being a starfish. And I believe you all were able to pass around a starfish yesterday and hold it, correct? Okay, so you have one. This is an example. All echinoderms do not look exactly like this. This is an example of one, okay? And so we've got that they are covered or protected by thick skin, kind of like, how can we describe the outer covering? What do we call it?
Their skin is kind of rough and bumpy.
Okay, rough and bumpy skin. And echinoderms eat algae, that's what's here. They reproduce by laying eggs, good. And they move by moving their arms. So these are their arms. Now, they were to write down 3 interesting facts about echinoderms. I've got chit-chat going on. 3 interesting facts. One is that they can easily hide. That is true. Another is that they are